coming up. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Day of Lives, to inspire lives. So this is Ademola. I'm the founder of 1000 Black Boys, and I've got an amazing person on the phone, Olumide from Rocksolid Relationships. What are we doing today? So we're building up to 1000 Black Boys next week. It's our second virtual event of this period in time. So we did our first one in June, and it was amazing. We had about almost 4,000 views, and we reached an estimated 2,000 plus people that saw our lives and saw our videos and saw everything that we're doing. And why are we doing this? So the vision for 1000 Black Boys is this, is we exist to empower and enable Black boys and young Black men to live a life of purpose and to unleash their full potential. And we see that as a complete different conversation to the existing media conversation and to the existing paradigm that most people have about Black boys and young Black men. And we also see that as a way to have society work. Here's what I mean by that. When the lives of young Black boys work and young Black men work, the lives of old Asian women work, or young Chinese boys work, young Black girls work, old white men work, old Black men, women, everything works. Because how many times have you read a news article about something concerning a young Black person, and it's just left you in a very disempowered or angry or anxious state? So that's the power that's behind all of this. And that's the thing that we want to transform. So next week's event is how to be powerful during challenging times. So 2020, in case you haven't noticed, has been quite a challenging year. 2020 has been very different to what most people expected. So next week is about how can we empower you during all of this. So we know that there's been the coronavirus, there's been the lockdown, there's been the protests and the riots over in the US. There's been all of these things that have happened. The government have messed up the A-level results and the GCSE results. It's going to impact lots of people from challenging or lower social economic backgrounds. So that's like another blow and all of these things. So we're about how can we have people be inspired and powerful during this time? So that's what next week is really all about. And Olumide is one of our speakers next week. He does some incredible work with him and the team at Rocksolid Relationships, and they work with parents to build a really powerful partnership between both parents, mom and dad, that the children now grow up in an environment and a culture that's conducive to growth, that's conducive to development, and that's conducive to success. And we're good friends. He's also an Arsenal fan just like me. And yes, so we're both Gooners. Thank you very much. Thank you. So don't hold that against us if you don't like Arsenal.
Still got a trophy this season. Still good.
Yeah, we got a trophy. We got a trophy this season, which is very, very good. We're happy about that. So yeah,
we'll take that tell us a bit about.
What was that?
I said we'll take a trophy in this season that we're in.
Hey, at this point, I would take anything with Arsenal getting in kind of trophies. But tell us a bit about yourself. So who are you? And I've given you a little introduction, but who are you? What do you do? And also, why do you do it?
Thank you very much, Ade, for the opportunity to come on today and next week as well. So I'll just say this. I'll give a short answer and then you can expand, just so I can keep it succinct. In a nutshell, I would just say I am a son of God, but being a son of God means that there is a purpose for me on earth. And my name, Olumide, actually means the Lord is here or the Lord has arrived, depending on which type of Yoruba you want to use for the midday part. And that just simply means that anywhere I am, I should be presenting God. So one of the things I love about presenting God is for humans to be able to live with one another and relate to one another. So one of my gifts, I believe, from God is to be able to have a rapport with anyone that I meet, that very, very quickly we can get to know one another and feel settled in one another's presence. And I'll just call it a gift. We all have gifts, and I have no shame in saying that one is my gift. So it led me to be able to have not just leadership positions, but it now went to pastoral positions and having care for people. And Ade, you can testify. So when we met, it didn't take us too long to get to have a rapport with one another, because like yourself as well, you're good with people. You like taking people to maximize what they have, fulfill potential, and
I
lead that
love
on.
people.
You love people. Sorry,
100%.
I'll change that. He loves people, not likes people. So yeah, that's the same as me. And I know we're gonna go into some of the things that I've done and have been involved in, but I always look at it as the motive. And I like that you said the why do I do it. The motive is because first of all, that gift is there, and the purpose is that I want to represent God wherever I am. I'm going to have to account for the gifts that He's poured in my life one day, and that's why I do this.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. And just also say as well, say more about this. I know we can talk about this in a very straight way. When you say God, some people are going to hear religion.
Mm.
They're going to hear like religion. And many people have had an experience with religion that's tarnished that perspective of God. When you say God, say more about that. When you say God,
Okay,
what do you
so
mean? Yeah.
when I say God, I mean Christ, the hope of glory. When I say
Hmm.
Christ, the hope of glory is that there is in every single human being something inside you that wants to have glory or give glory to someone. So you either want to have glory for yourself or give glory to someone. That's why we support football teams. We do some of the things that we do. We want someone to say, "Well done, you did this well," or we are or we are drawn to people who do things well. So that being the case, I believe that's an innate thing that's in us as humans that comes from God. And He says that He will never share His glory with anyone else. However, He will give to those who worship Him a glory that He has prepared for them, like He did for His Son Christ Jesus. And I will end with this. That's the God I'm talking about, because if you look at the way in which the human body works, from our respiratory system to the fact that we can breathe, we need to rest, we wake up, and all these things, there is a design about it. And because we as humans design things, the platform we're on, someone wrote the code or the algorithm for us to use it. I personally believe that there's clear enough evidence that we were designed. And if we were designed, there is a designer. And I think every product that has been manufactured or designed should follow the manual of that designer. And that's the God of who I'm talking about. And I'll end with
Sure.
this. You only need to look at the situation that we're in, not just 2020, but the situation that we've been in from the history of the earth. People are always crying out for hope, for something better. So, like Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, Christ is leading us out of darkness into light, and that's our hope. And that's why I keep on, despite all the bad stuff going on in the earth, is that there is the manual that says that eventually this is going to be wrapped up, and I'm holding on to that hope to see that promise come to pass.
Sure. Thank you for that. Thank you. And for those of you that are listening, so some of you will share the Christian faith like we do. Awesome, brilliant. Some of you that don't, that are watching this or listening to this, so just be aware when when Olumide is talking about God and Jesus, we're not talking about religion.
Yeah,
We're not talking about a religious system. We're not talking about that. We're
yeah,
talking about how do we demonstrate um, the God that we serve and His goodness to every single human being. How do we live a life of purpose? How do we go through day to day and be in a demonstration of that, not just when we are amongst our Christian folk or our Christian friends, or not just when we are in a church service, but for us, it's genuinely. So, for example, for me, I can look through the window right now. I can see the clear blue sky. I can see the clouds. If I go for a walk, I can feel the breeze. I can see the birds. I can see the trees rustling. All of that. For me, that's all God's goodness. And being able to appreciate that it's far beyond a religious system. And so when we do what we do, it's our context. You don't need to share our faith. If you do, great. If you don't, just be in a conversation with us. But that's what my brother's talking about when he's talking about God and Jesus Christ and his journey and his faith.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you. So I guess that we couldn't talk about what you do and who you are without talking about your love for Jesus Christ. So just tell us in terms of rock solid relationships, in terms of so black boys and young black men, in terms of the current prevailing media narrative, in terms of the historical narrative, what's your views to all that?
Yeah, so I think you have said it right. There's a history. There's evidence that people of our skin color have been marginalized, especially when we have left where people would say was home for us. And I don't want to go that far back deep into, where the first man was and such. I want to look at the evidence that we can track. So it's clear that some of us, a lot of us, start off with a back foot, not given as much opportunities as others, not having things like what you're doing, empowerment, done. As far as like 20 years ago in the UK, I doubt I could. You're the only thing I can see doing something for 1,000 black boys. At the moment, there might be another one somewhere that we don't know about. But 20 years ago, things like this weren't prevalent. But the opportunities there now, whereby it's coming more to the fore, not just only because of technology, but because of awareness and people wanting to know, have a greater knowledge of what exists for them. So I went to the start and came back to the end, but let me come to the middle almost now. So it's been clear that for whatever reason, and I think it's part of the agenda for those in power to suppress others, that people have used this narrative that the darker your skin color or something, then the less of a person you are. Um, the darker your skin color, that you can't do this, that you can't function that way. And we know that these things aren't true because we've seen ourselves in what we call the West now. We can thrive in not only just sports and physical or entertainment, we can thrive in business, we can thrive in finance, as our other brothers and sisters with other pigmentation do. We're all human. So that's one thing I want to also share as well. And I think it's very, very important that as much as people and we are doing for those of our skin color, that we are doing our best to give them a better chance to see the worth that they're in, that we make sure that it's not done in a way, because you mentioned Chinese people before, you mentioned other nations before, whereby we now marginalize others like we were marginalized. That's something I really, really believe in. We don't solve the problem by now saying that, oh, now that we're helping ourselves as Afro-Caribbean people, people of our skin color, we have nothing for anyone else. That said, we should target ourselves so that we can actually make sure that there isn't a cycle of failure, that there isn't a cycle of getting caught up with going into prison or police brutality or hurting ourselves. We need to stop those cycles with what you're doing that's helping that. So I'm definitely for that, and I definitely want to bring that to the forefront. That shouldn't be ignored. But at the same time, let's not put ourselves in a position whereby we now shut ourselves away from other societies and other nations. And I know that's not something that you subscribe to, but with doing this, it will empower us to know that, hey, now that we're giving ourselves a chance, we'll give other people in our lineage, other people in our nation. But this is to make sure that everybody on earth has the same advantages that some of the other ethnics do. And I also want to go with this. Would be my manifesto. I know there's this term BAME, so Black and Asian
Minority.
minority. I would love to drop that word minority. Now I know, yes, we're minority in terms of number, But I think one thing that will help to change the narratives and shift focus and paradigms of people is to not now class people as only what skin color they are. So that not that you have to drop that name 1,000 Black Boys. You might decide to one day, and I might be reaching here today, but we understand that we don't now limit ourselves, or we don't accept the limitations on us.
Yeah, I get part that. I say 1,000 Black Boys is the assignment for now. It could be something that we do till whenever. Um, the BME thing, it's something I think we should drop it generally anyway. I don't think it resonates. It's more a way to tick the box and to kind
Yeah,
of be able to do reporting. It doesn't
yeah,
resonate. Black, Asian, minority, ethnic. It doesn't make sense outside of the West. So
no,
it doesn't make sense to people in, I'll probably say like in Africa or on the continent. Probably doesn't make sense to people that are based in India. Doesn't make sense. But it's more a way in which the UK system and the US system can kind of describe things.
yeah,
And I'm of the opinion that words are powerful. So in terms
yes,
of minority, it's not even true. Look at the global population. That's not
yeah,
that's not the minority. So it's a view, it's a paradigm, it's a perspective. That's not the truth. And perspectives are perspectives. I think it's
yeah,
important for us to be able to see them as a perspective and to not be
yeah,
bound by it. And just with what you said as well, just to touch on it, so we definitely want to impact. So here's what I think most people miss it. So we're very, very clear with 1,000 Black Boys that we want to empower Black boys and young Black men aged 20 to 25. That we want to impact them.
yeah,
And people ask me, but why not just boys? Why don't you just say boys? And I was
mm,
just like, no, I'm really clear that's not boys, as in who we're reaching initially. I looked at the stats in 2018, 2019. If you look at it, I'm talking about like London. When I looked at the stats in London, two-thirds, almost like 70% of teenagers that were killed in 2019 and 2018 were Black boys. So 70%. And in terms of uh, people killed generally in London, it was literally about 30% males, Black males, 35%. It was almost like a KPI, Olumide, like year on year, like a
mm,
KPI. And the population of males in London is about 7%. So it was double that. And there was something also that I saw is with the news that I was receiving and that I was getting, it was that a lot of young Black boys and young Black men were being sent to prison disproportionately to the level of population and to the percentage of the population in the UK. And something in particular that I saw before we really kicked this off, it was this barrister at the Old Bailey. And he was saying, look, listen, 20, 30, 40 years ago, I was representing hardened criminals. I was representing people that were in gangs that were like established gangs in the West End. But now I'm representing 14, 15, 16-year-old Black boys. And one time he said something about, I actually reached out to this guy to have him speak at one of our events. He said one time in the Old Bailey, all of the main courts and all of the main cells underneath were trialing Black boys. All of them.
oh,
At the same day, at the same time. And it was like some of them are going to go to prison for, say, 20, 24 years. By the time they come out, they'll be like in their 40s. He's like, in that time, cars might be floating. So they're going to come out, they're going to go to prison as a 15, 16-year-old. They'll come out in their 40s or let's say late 30s, early 40s. The world will be completely different for them. And I was just really committed that, hold on, I want to change, I want to transform that conversation. I want to transform that conversation that's not what we have. And how I also see is the vision for this is imagine that people might hear Black boys and be triggered by, oh, talking about Black boys, talking about race. We're talking about everyone. Because imagine that a young Black boy that lives in Hackney starts a new type of social media that then goes global. Who does that benefit?
Yeah.
Everyone. Everybody
Yep.
gets it.
Mm.
So imagine that then these two black boys, one that used to live in Hackney, one that lives in Tottenham, rather than opposing each other, they start a new type of social enterprise that impacts and benefits homelessness in the whole of the UK. Who does that benefit?
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Or let's say they start a new type of business, and this business now becomes the next unicorn of UK business. So it's now a multi-billion-pound business, and it's employing thousands and thousands of people. They've got lots of different suppliers. They're benefiting the economy. Who gets the benefit?
Yeah. We
Everyone.
all do. Yeah.
So that's what's behind it. So rather than leaving something that's like an elephant, imagine a great big pink elephant in a black and white room, and you're trying to ignore it. Like it's there. I'm like, but we can
Yeah.
transform it. It benefits the whole room, and everybody gets it. So that's the vision behind it. And it's one that I show people really powerfully, really clearly. I'm like, we want to impact all lives. And how we do that is by impacting the lives of black boys and young black men. And this is the vision behind it. You can't ignore it because it impacts you too. So that's where we
Yeah.
come from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I think some people haven't been educated as you've done that in those minutes now, as even if something says, as we're using the term black on it now, and we know what we think of that, but we'll fulfill righteousness, we'll go with what people are currently used to, because we want a world one day whereby that's not our label. That would be great if we can do that before Christ returns, or in our generation that day. I'll be very, very, very happy with that. But I think you have done a great thing in using that to say how someone could see that, and someone who's Caucasian or doesn't identify with us can be like, oh, I'm seeing this, but perhaps they're doing something that's going to benefit. Because guess what? I'll use a bait name, Craig. Craig, who could be Caucasian, could be friends with Femi, who goes to 1,000 Black Boys, and he now comes back to Craig, and he is a better human, better person, and is sharing something with Craig, and Craig's like, oh, you know what, Femi, you've kind of changed. Like, oh, what are you into and what are you doing? Oh, there's this guy out there, and there's this their team. Oh, there's this get hench thing. The next thing you know, Craig comes along to that. Craig's like, oh wow, this really works. Oh,
Mm.
I don't have to wait till I'm 22 to figure out that I can get rid of the chimp and work on my thinking. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna speak to my sister. Sister gets connected, and before you know it, like you're saying, everyone is exposed to this. So though the target is who we say it is, from age 20 to 25, but 25-year-old is gonna be a 26-year-old one day. That 20-year-old has a younger 17-year-old or 18-year-old around them. This is going to affect everyone, and I think it's not just something to support. It's something that we should have our eyes on and get involved with.
Definitely. And so it's 10 to 25. So 10 to 25.
Right,
So
yeah,
that's
because I
the,
was thinking,
yeah,
well, when you said 2025, I was like, perhaps this was this one. Yes, 10 to 25. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah.
pleasure. Because yeah, 'cause like I think it's really important to be clear on that. And people, it's about programming and conditioning and conditioning. So this wasn't initially where we planned the conversation to go, but let's see where it
Yeah.
goes. So some people that are not, let's say, the black, as we say, might hear that and they're triggered by it, like, oh, it's about black people here, but it's not. So the people that created that system, it's not you as a Caucasian person. You didn't create the system, and the system still binds you.
Mm.
So rather than opposing a conversation like this, actually engage with this conversation, because it's a system that oppresses everyone, and everybody gets it. But if we can have breakthroughs in one area, it ripples through to other areas.
Yeah.
It's something really powerful to really convey. And what I'll probably do is I'll share back that next week when we do the full events on Friday, Saturday. And then just to move on. So rock solid relationship. So so you work with, is it just married couples you work with? Couples that are working, just about to get married? Who do you work with at Rock Solid Relationships?
So The the focus first is couples, married couples in crisis or having issues are generally those who would want to come for our service, because most people, if they're not having an issue or they don't think they are, or they're not in a crisis about to break up, won't feel they want to go to marriage coaching or relationship counseling. So
So
they
is it
are
more
the
coaching you do? So do you do
yeah,
coaching more than counseling?
yeah, it's more coaching, and that's
Okay.
why this is different, because with coaching, as we know, you are strengthening what you already know, and you're finding out about new techniques to make yourself better. And I know counseling is has some similar stuff to what coaching does, but this looks at a more interactive way of working. This looks at the support that we can give you, apart from the session itself. Through the time that you're on the course, we you are free to call us during those times, obviously within what both parties can do. If you're just about to get into a relationship, it's for you as well. And I like what you said about, for parents, if they don't check that they are relating in a certain way, they are building the paradigm that their children are going to have, and this is why they should consider doing it. So I won't give away too much of what I'll speak about next week now, but just think about it this way: there are different conversation rooms that you and your spouse should be having when you're actually interacting. I won't mention what the conversation rooms are this week, but so for example, me and you, Ade, we're having a conversation room now whereby we are showcasing some of what we are going to speak about next week. If we had to sort out conflict, that would be another conversation room. If we had to get into, let's say, a project that we were doing, whether it's to make money or bring some people on board or show something, that's another conversation room we'll be having. So we really focus on how are couples and people communicating so that they get the best out of each other per time. Because sometimes we just want to mix up what the conversation is, and then the right signals aren't passed across. So that's what we major on through Rocksolid Relationship.
Sure. And just to ask as well, so if there's a couple, they're in a relationship, um and the relationship is fine, there's no crisis, do they need rock solid relationship?
Well, I don't want to sound like a hard sell, but you need to ask yourself this. Everybody wants to improve whatever they've got, right? So you could either, and I don't know the exact figures, but people who end up with either separation or divorce, there are some huge financial implication costs there. So you can look at it yourself and say that, oh, we haven't got any issues or whatever. But if you wanted to assess where your relationship was and you claim there were no issues, then I'd say, hey, why not give a session a taste, and you can actually measure where you're at. That can now give you more
Mhm.
of an idea as to whether you feel you need this or not.
Sure. I mean, so if I can paraphrase it, because I know from the work you do, so for those that are listening, so it's not only when a relationship or a marriage is in crisis that rock
Okay.
solid relationships would be there to support you.
Yeah.
Because what I do is work on self development. So with the things that I do, I do very well at them, and I've got 5 coaches that deal with different areas of my life and business. I've got
Mm.
five coaches, and 2 mentors. So the thinking is, it's not when something is in crisis or in
Yeah.
trouble that you then go out to get a relationship coach.
Mm.
So it's a case of, you don't need to wait for the house to be on fire before you start to look after it. If I can use that as
Mm.
like a loose analogy. So what they do and what Olumide and the team do at Rock Solid Relationship is just have people to support people to have really powerful interactions. So we want
Yeah.
to have really powerful relationships together. So whether you've just started in your in your relationship, or you're about to get married, or you have just got married, and everything is like, oh, it's amazing. No, I love you so much, and I love you so much. And you think, no, we're not in coaching. That is a great time to have additional support. So you're building the foundation and you're starting it right. So you're looking to build if it's a marriage, which is like a skyscraper that will last a lifetime. So therefore, have the foundations be really solid and really well built. So at the early stage, at the early days, is a great time to get support and to get coaching for your relationships. And why we're talking about this today is because quite often when people talk about, like we also see the stats around black boys, some of them which I shared in terms of, I want to just say, in terms of like knife crime and gangs and things that were told, maybe from like a London perspective and from what I see in London and maybe other parts of the UK. And quite often, what people suggest and the government suggests is, right, we're going to be tougher on crime. We're going to introduce Section 60. We're going to stop and search everybody that walks on this street that looks like a black boy for the next 2 hours. So they deal with that. We're going to increase sentencing, have tougher sentencing. So all of that is dealing with the hello. So all of that is dealing with the symptom rather than dealing with the cause and the source of it.
Yeah.
So like somebody has got a broken leg for the 5th time, and what you're doing is you're giving them a plaster every time. So what we're saying is, hey, let's address why this leg keeps on getting broken. How come it's the 5th time that this leg has been broken? And we're saying, let's deal with the source of it. And the source of it comes from home. It starts from home.
Starts from home,
And so we've got Olumide talking next week and today because we want to empower parents to build a really powerful interaction between both of them, so that as the boys and the girls, as they're growing up in this environment, there is a culture at home that facilitates development and that facilitates growth and success.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, bro. And I want to end with this on here as well, because we do live in a society whereby there are some people who are single parents, and you would think, oh, there are some stuff for us, and although we don't put it on our banner, say this is for single parents as well, but let me give you an example as to how this could work for a single parent. I could work with you and your teenager, or you and your child, whether that relationship is shaky or not, to make sure that you build the right relationship between each other, because this doesn't only work for people who are couples in relationship. We could actually do this for ourselves, especially whereby conflict resolution was concerned, if we wanted to totally avoid that, to make sure that we had this, because ours was a bit shorter, but we had our 300 conversation that helped now guides our relationship going forwards. So you can pull me up on stuff, I can pull you up on stuff. I can now use you, and I'm just to plug Ade out there. Ade is we don't have like strict sessions at the moment, but he's someone that is going to be like a business mentor for me, because with me just launching out and starting a business, not necessarily on my own, but lead. He's someone who's been doing it for a while, and I can lean on his expertise in doing that. So I'm not now going to use our friendship relation where that's concerned. I'm going to respect his experience where that's concerned, on lean on him heavily for checkpoints as to how the Rocksolid relationships or business models go. So that's something that I'm doing for couples, but I'm still getting a coaching from the person who's coaching me on the business, from Ade who does business, and we can actually do that for ourselves as men. So for someone who's a single mother or single father, you're wondering, oh, I need something to strengthen this. There's also options for doing that with you as well.
Okay, great. And as you can see that Olumide is not just talking about it in theory. There's the children all around. We just saw one of them very like a few minutes ago. So the things that he will be that they talk about are things that are practical things. So it's not theory, or it's not just this is the theory behind it. It's things that have been lived, practiced, done, and they are experiential. So that's what when he talks about coaching and counseling, they're dealing with the coaching element. So how do we coach human beings in relationships to have powerful relationships so that they create a powerful culture for the children in the home, and the home where young black boys and young black men grow up in. So for any parents that want support with that kind of conversation, that want support to build a really powerful home for their children and for their young boys, for their young men, Olumide and Rocksolid are a great bunch of people to be speaking with. And yeah, so it's a Saturday and he's working from home. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We can hear it all behind you.
Thank you so much for this today, Ade. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So next week, Olumide will be talking about giving away actually a tool about how to manage interaction between parents at home and the different types of rooms to utilize. And Olumide, just to ask a quick question, is your coaching only for Christian couples?
No, and this will be another plug, which we'll plug next week. So one of the reasons we are actually so excited about doing this is that we believe that those who are not Christians are going to see this as tenets and structures that they could use as well, because they are principles that anyone who wants to strengthen what they're doing can use it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, I think it's really important to be clear on that you don't have to, dare I say, be a Christian to benefit from their coaching, because what they do impacts human beings. These are fundamentals to relationships and fundamentals to making a marriage, a build up to it, a home work and function, regardless of where you are, whether you're about to start, or I'll go further back, whether you're thinking about it, whether you're about to start, whether you've just started and everything is hunky-dory, or whether you're down the line, you're like, I've got some questions, or whether you're further down the line and there's conflict, they are there to support you at every step along the way.
Yes, indeed.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to have you on. We look forward to talking to you more next week. And thank you to all of you who are on this live and those of you who are listening. And yeah, have a great one. See you later.
Thank you as well. You as well. God bless. See ya.